Hispanic market in North America. And so the company launched a Spanish language website with this woman as the spokesperson. She was able to speak very eloquently in the Spanish language to talk about the needs of Hispanic business owners. And as a result, they had very favorable results, actually, and they had a lot of news stories in the Hispanic news media as the result of her work. So this is just one little consideration for you in reaching these various ethnic and racial groups. What I want to talk about now is another group that you may need to consider reaching. And this one has a little more controversy associated with it. There are probably some more considerations here that you need to think hard about when you're starting to develop a campaign to reach this community, or if you're going to find your company dealing with this group. For simplicity's sake, on the slides that follow, you're going to see the gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender abbreviated, okay? So it'll be GLBT if you want to put it in your notes that way so you'll remember what I'm doing. But basically, that's what I'm going to talk about. But basically, you have to recognize the impact that your organization is going to have on this community and what impact the community will have on your organization. Today, there are any number of well-known gays, for example, if you think of Elton John, lesbians too, Rosie O'Donnell, Ellen DeGeneres, and there are people like that. You need to give some serious thought to this. It is a very challenging issue to deal with, though. Many times today, companies are dealing with their human resources people, the legal department, marketing, media, philanthropy, even vendors. And as I said earlier, it's rather difficult to estimate the size of this population unless an individual openly indicates his or her sexual preferences, and that may not be the case. And so researchers are varying in describing how large the population is. As you saw in that earlier slide, we were estimating about 3.86%. That may be a little high, maybe a little low. It's the best we can do right now to give some kind of an estimate. But Simmons market research, that's where those numbers come from. 3.86% of the population is gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender. But look at their buying power, $600 billion. So again, a huge force to be reckoned with. And interesting things to think about there. This survey by Whitek Holmes Harris found that these customers tend to be very brand loyal, and not surprisingly, that they will judge a company's reputation on its ability to treat all of its customers with respect and to support gay, lesbian causes and ads and fairness in hiring. Real consideration. I had personal experience with this particular population in one of my public relations jobs because I shared a public relations job with a man who was gay. And I came to understand that community much, much better as a result of spending a year working alongside him. But certainly this is something that you also may find yourself thinking about, whether you're working with someone, as I did, or if your company is trying to reach this particular population. But some interesting facts there. Now, as you might expect, it's going to be a little tougher trying to deal with, it's more controversial to address sexual orientation than it would be to talk about multicultural issues. Because many religious groups and certain segments of the American society have denounced non-heterosexual relationships. So you need to think really carefully about that. And yet companies need to consider this particular population as part of their diversity initiatives and in terms of community giving and investment in marketing issues. But companies are trying hard to work on that. Some of the issues of importance, and I don't have these on the screen, I apologize, I was trying to do this very quickly. Some of the issues that are of importance to this community, as you might expect: same-sex marriage, gays in the military, sex education in the schools, parenting, and adoption rights. These are just a few. And employers need to really be proactive in addressing these issues. Now, from a human resources point of view, companies are starting to offer benefits to same-sex couples. Many companies are supporting internal employee groups for gays and lesbians on the job. And also many companies are beginning to track the employment of gay and lesbian employees to ensure that equality on the job is taking place. In fact, and I don't have this on the screen, but nearly 63% of Fortune 500 companies include sexual orientation in their non-discrimination policies. And about 3/4 of Americans feel that same-sex partners are entitled to the same leave benefits that heterosexual married spouses receive. So 3/4 of us feel that that's important. Keep in mind, there are many state and local anti-discrimination laws that cover sexual orientation. And there are ways to, and federal as well, although there is no federal legislation currently that covers all situations involving sexual orientation. But what can your company do? If you are in a company, the chances are rather good, if you're in public relations, that you might find yourself dealing with some of these situations. You might be working alongside human resources or your employee benefits department to create a brochure or to do something else regarding these issues. So what can you do? There are a few steps up on the screen for you. You can certainly support the Federal Employment Non-Discrimination Act, and you can use that language in all of your employment ads if you're looking to hire, in your brochures and your employee manuals and so forth. You can have all sorts of diversity awareness programs, probably in conjunction with the Human Resources Department. You certainly can consider the appropriate marketing and advertising to this community, and support charitable organizations within the gay and lesbian community, such as those that deal with AIDS issues. Now, I want to make you realize, though, you can take those steps, and it really depends on your company and who it's trying to reach. Because if you go and you do a lot of this, you may actually look as though somehow you're supporting the gay lifestyle, and perhaps your particular organization has a policy that doesn't do that. So it may, as I say, there are a number of religions that still are on the record as opposing this lifestyle. So what can you do? You're faced with a dilemma there, because you may need to take a neutral stance on it. My advice to you would be to understand your company's mission and where it stands officially on this issue before you embark on a program, but to take a neutral role, be fair to all, and engage in philanthropy that supports your company's mission. Keep that in mind, that what your company's business strategies are should drive the kind of philanthropy that you do in the community, and how any partnership, what kind of funding you give, if your company's in a position to give money to nonprofits, who are you trying to reach? That should drive your philanthropy always. It may be to the gay lesbian community, it may not. It really depends on where you're going. So that's what I wanted to say about this particular issue. What I'd like to finish up with is to talk a little bit about another group that you will need to think about, which is the group of people who suffer from who have disabilities. And here, again, we're going to try to do a really quick little quiz on this. This quiz is intended to offer some examples of how you can best interact with people with disabilities and what terminology is currently preferred. Now, once